Joining us now is Abutu Yaro, former Assistant Inspector General of Police, to help us discuss and shed light on some of these matters. Good morning. Thank you for coming on today.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
So, from the look of things, it appears as though this law will, of course, it will be discussed in the National Assembly, and it appears as though it will eventually become law, and we will have state police. But different arguments, pro and con. We've seen the former IGP take a different position, current IGP, a different position. What do you think?
Well, thank you for this important conversation. Particularly, these are issues that are very germane to our national development, our existence, and the prosperity or otherwise of our country. We have gone beyond argument. State police has come to stay. The remaining nexus is the legislative connection and the operationalization. And as you can see, in the last 24 hours, the Inspector General of Police, Tunde Disu, has even set up a committee to facilitate the implementation from the police perspective. And that, I can assure you, is a template that is designed to address the interoperability platform. That is to say, how will the state police perform and relate with the federal police in times of crisis, in times of peace, in times of exigencies, national exigencies or otherwise. So in any case, the point I'm trying to say is that the necessity of police, state police, has been very germane in the national life, and its existence has come to stay. A presidential proclamation to that effect has been made. The only thing remaining now is the legislative annexure to the proclamation in order to validate it constitutionally. And of course, the implementation has started in many ways, particularly from the IG's effort. I want to remind ourselves that in this country, quasi-state police has been existing for the past 25 years in this country. In many states, like Lagos State, we have LASMA, apparently it's traffic police, and that's state police duty. We have Lagos State Neighborhood Watch, which is a miniature state police. In some regions, we will have a Amoteku. In some places, we have Hizba. In some places, we have a state vigilante groups. All this nomenclature, for whatever purposes we call it, essentially they are policing outfits and they are performing policing duty. So I think what the present government is saying through our president is that let us formalize all these ad hoc processes through legislation, through solidified implementation.
So what then, because the former IGP, you know his stance on this matter.
Stance are different from national needs. Stance are different from institutional perception. An IG may have personal perception.
Oh, so that was personal? Even
I'm not a former IG Abutu, but my interpretation of what you are saying is that what he was saying was, in my view, what his opinion, which was expressing on his official platform as an Inspector General of Police. But this is our own country. From we, who are ordinary nationals, bona fide citizens of Nigeria, we believe that there's policing gap in our country. And the necessity for its existence has gone beyond debate. And at that time, his own position was his position. The fact that IEG then was having a position do not mean that our national need and our national interest and our thematic conviction in a subject matter is irrelevant.
So does it mean that we'll have to discard whatever his opinion was?
His opinion, it's not...
In that capacity, with that experience?
I want to remind ourselves that opinion of a city Nigerians are then is not necessarily sacrosanct. Or it's not sacrosanct with national opinion. A public official can have an opinion depending on his orientation, his conviction. That does not mean that that opinion is a national ethos. Assuming that at the time he says so, there was a national plebiscite in this federal republic with respect to the necessity or otherwise of it, the plebiscite would have proved yes. So that his opinion is not, in my view, is not what is relevant now. I'm talking about national need. And that national need has been aggregated and concretized and presented by the present administration. I'm in full support.
Indeed. Well, it does appear that before now, it took us a while to get here. This general consensus which you speak of because for the longest of times, it was the same political class who told us, or political elite, who told us that state police was something that they were inherently afraid of. Why? Because they felt that it could be manipulated by governors. It could be used as a political weapon to hunt political opponents. So for the longest of times, they felt that the issue of abuse far outweighed any good that it could come out of it. So for years, what it was just debate. Even when it looked like we had made progress, especially under the 8th and 9th assemblies, where the Senate, I remember then, Senator Ike Kurumadu headed a particular committee, and they seemed to have made great progress in terms of that state policing issue. But clearly, that did not come to much. The issue of abuse, though, continues to be a real fear. And maybe that's what has informed the former IGP stance. That this, from what they could see even, the current system, even now, is sometimes abused. How much more when you now have this sort of abuse replicated, say, in all the states, or this potential replicated in all the 36 states of the Federation? How do we then manage that? So how do you think that this particular...
You see, I must remind ourselves,
yes,
we must remind ourselves of one thing. Human ideas are always evolutionary, particularly with respect to social conduct and organizational dynamics or management of government or even security. Security, governance, all are human affairs, and they fall within the purview of sociological permutations and understanding. Ideas that was not understood years back, at later years may be filtered to become more understood. We are not supposed to be dogmatic when it comes to calibrating our ideas about human development. And human development, of course, includes security algorithms. Therefore, if years back the larger school of thought was a little to the left, in later years, having studied it, having experienced dynamics of life and social elements that govern human beings, you come to realization that the ideas of yesterday may not be consistent with the needs of today and tomorrow. And that is how the evolution of this concept of state policing in our country and in our society stand. Agreeing with you that some years back, some political elites say what you said. That do not mean that as of now, having filtered these ideas over time, and that falls in the concept of evolution of human knowledge and human understanding of its affair, we have come to the realization that to go forward is better than stagnating with the ideas. And the issue of abuse or whatever, let me remind ourselves, there's no human organization on this earth that cannot be abused if you want to abuse it. For example, in the United States, as we speak today, their president is at war in the Middle East or in Iran without getting presidential fiat, Congress fiat, which is the normal standard format. It's a form of abuse, despite the fact that they have practiced democracy for 250 years or more. So the point I'm saying is that we should not be afraid of any phenomenon based on the ideals of perceived fear. Yes, anything can be abused. Even a scientific process can be abused. Scientific knowledge can be abused. Laboratory experiment can be abused. Yeah. And when we are talking about policing, policing is social construct. So if you have fear of abuse, the important thing we need to do is that, arising from our fear of abuse, what can we do to alleviate it? And there are many dynamics to check the abuse. For example, if we run a state police procedure through the kind of study we are carrying, and we come and say, look, state police operate within parameter. We have classification of offenses. We have miscellaneous offenses. We have simple offenses. We have felony. Now, if we can reconstruct it in such a way that state police takes care of miscellaneous offenses or simple offenses and simple offenses, and when felony occurs, there must be reference to the national police. Once there's a legislative provision in the way I'm speaking, the so-called abuse, for example, simple offenses are like my car hit your car on the road in the go-slow. I was moving and my shoulder touched your granite store and the granite stand fell down. Or my wife poured water on your wife in our compound. these are miscellaneous affairs that in the law, when we state it, that when we say miscellaneous crimes falls within this parameters, it can never be abused. So, and of course, too, in that provision, we're going to make it that in case offense happens, in those states that is having geographical boundary or that is contiguous to Ekiti, how will the state police, pursue the felon contiguously in their common boundary to Ekiti? All those things will be provided. Like the federal police, if an offense takes place in FCT police, which is the command, and the criminal is on the run going to Nasarawa, certainly our law permits that the FCT police continue pursuing them. And so all what I'm trying to say that the guarantee for abuse are very, very perfect. We can equally say state police will not participate in national election.
Okay, so
and etc. and etc. and etc. So I want to assure Nigerians that the so-called fear can be screwed down, provided we make all these elements. We provide for it in our legislation.
Those countries that you highlighted, it can't be taken in isolation. They've got certain laws and rules. Even the president has been to court, has been indicted several cases, but we don't see those kind of scenarios here. So we can't just take that unilaterally as though that appears to be the norm. But in our own case, there are huge concerns. For instance, the election part, which you speak about. What safeguards do you think can be put in place to ensure that governors don't turn the state police into political enforcement groups?
Simple. For example, the last Ekiti state by-election, gubernatorial election, which was off-season election, one of the federal regulations through INEC, INEC is a federal body, so their regulations are more or less a kind of federal regulation, was that state security entities, vigilantes, Amoteco and whatever, do not participate in the election. And it was only the national police or the federal police that were in that jurisdiction or that were deployed that participated. It's one of the safeguards. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. We are doing national census. We may say state police should not be involved except federal police, federal SSS, and national army. And it will be done in that way. So in the same like manner, there could be presidential visit. The standard operation manual, POS, who said, look, the presidential lining from Ikeja Airport to Lagos Island, it's only federal police and SSS that will participate. It will stand. You will never see state element or state security people.
So what did they argue and say, why should state police not participate? Is the president or the politician? Is it now going to use the federal police to manipulate?
It doesn't necessarily mean so.
Like that?
The president, apart from being a politician, is our sovereign. Yes, he's a national sovereign. President is a sovereign authority. When we say Federal Republic of Nigeria, the sovereign authority, we say this is Nigeria's sovereign authority.
But yeah, I get your point, but it's not above the law.
It's not. I won't allow me to finish this explanation. The president is not an ordinary politician. It's a sovereign authority. A sovereign authority is higher than a political authority. And in that respect, take this knowledge, this perspective to the bank. And in that respect, it should be very, very out of place for us as Nigerians to say, after all, he's a president, not a politician. Why should he declare that? It doesn't go in that way. We must understand how.
No, why not? He's a politician.
He's a politician. Good. I'm not the only person. It's a sovereign authority. A sovereign authority is higher than a politician. That's the point I'm making.
Well, sovereign authority is a politician affair before a sovereign authority.
Not necessarily so. Somebody may not be a politician, can be sovereign authority. Depends on the form of government in existence. There was a time, you understand my point? There was a time we run some form of government before, different from what we're having now. The person who was the leader of the government or who was the leader of Nigeria in whatever nomenclature you call it, is a sovereign.
Let me quickly take you up on the issue of security, because that's the primary reason why a lot of people are now clamoring for state police. It is the current situation on the ground: kidnapping, banditry, terrorism. These are the issues that people want their state police to be able to get involved in. How do you think that the creation of state police at that level will help that?
Thank you very much for that question. We must understand one thing. Those of you who are great travelers, we normally take, for example, I accept my apology for always giving American example in some cases. If you go to most of the cities in America, you will see the county police vehicle patrolling. You will see the NYPD, New York Police. But you still in some corners of New York, you still have federal troopers. Federal troopers are just like federal mobile police, higher than ordinary police, but a little less than the armed forces. They will never act until when the sheriff or the state police, when they are acting, and maybe the institution is degenerating to become of a terrorist nature, the system will become activated immediately. All this classification of security we are talking about, we in the security, we see ourselves as what we call concentric ring. Concentric ring means we are different cycle operating under the same barometer with the same objective. Of course, wearing several different uniforms, and of course, exercising different authority. But the essence of it is to ensure that there's law and order. So the point I'm making is that if we're on the streets of Akure, if issues are happening and local police are handling it, the more, as soon as that issue is always degenerating to a terrorist level, the federal police involvement will be automatically activated. There will be chain of coordination, control, and communication. It's not going to operate in abstract. It's going to be an automatic process. To the extent that at the end of the day, in any state, the commissioner of police, who is the federal police, the state police coordinator or commissioner too, and all of that, all of them will still operate as members of the State Security Council. Take what I'm saying to the bank. That's the gospel truth. They are not going to the field to operate as antagonistic elements. They are going to operate as elements in a concentric ring, operating in different layers. At the center of that concentric ring, that is the bull of the security network. It will be the federal police. Then the outer layer, state police. Then the exterior layer, you see local police and vigilante. So when there's a particular incident, all these elements will be activated automatically, depending on the volume of or the nature of the criminal effect. For example, when rioting is going on, it doesn't mean that when rioting is going on, state police or local government police will not assist to suppress it. As they are arresting, they are handing over, and they are working with the federal police. That's how the system works. And I want to use this medium to assure my fellow countrymen that we should go to sleep. We should support our president, our government in this respect. There's no fear, except, of course, we bring some of our insidious motives and some unnecessary pranks into the network. Yeah, if not, it's a flawless network. And we are going to see the effect in no time.
It should be flawless. I mean, a lot of people will hope on the flawlessness of it. But we've been here before. This is not the first time Nigeria... in fact, we're proposing it now. It has not been implemented. You say it's close to, given what the moves currently being made by the current IGP. But we've had state policing before in this country. We understand that it was as a result of the abuse and what people thought was, what the politicians thought was wrong with it, that they decided to have, what they call that now, to have a central policing system.
Thank you for that.
So, exactly, I want to know what lessons, apart from the subject, the issue of political hunting and what have you, what other lessons do you think we can learn so that by the time this is finally implemented, that a lot of people will say, oh, why didn't we do this sooner? Not that, oh, why did we go down this path? What are some of the things that we should look out for?
The kind of political and historical past we had in the governance of our country is different from what it is today. In the First Republic, and I'm sure that's what you are referring to, when we had regional police, the structure of our country with respect to the First Republic is completely different now. At that time, we had rabid regionalism. I use the word rabid regionalism. We're running regionalism that looked like each of us were operating in our tribal enclave. That our regional leaders were competing at level with each other, at level that seems to be rabid, uncoordinated, and moving across purpose. One region was pursuing free education. Another region was pursuing feudal political administration. Another region was pursuing things that were different. In the Nigeria of the 60s, the political culture there, which was under parliamentary system, was a kind of a cutthroat political environment. Unlike the present system under present government emerged, arising from the demerits observed in a coordinated Nigeria under rabid regionalism. That rabid regionalism gave birth to rabid regional police. That's the one they call, you call state police, regional police then, with different ethos, with different concept. It has passed. It was a as I said, it's historical evolution. Under a presidential system of government, state police ethos will completely be different from that kind of rabid regional ethos we did in the early 60s. And that is why I'm using this forum to assure our citizens that there's no fear at all. The elements, the way that our constitutionalism is programmed now, and our federation is being run under a presidential system of government.
You remind us of government, they always say, we're on top of it, we're on top of it, we're on top of the situation, but most times we see that is not the case.
Take note of that rabid regional engagement at that time.
All right, I mean,
that
yes,
even led to what we call Operation Wet here at one time, where one region was instigating insurrection in another region.
Yeah,
and those things, those privileges enter into the regional police, and they created problems that did not allow for transformation.
Right. So tell us, what do you want to see? Because, I mean, clearly they have to amend Section 214 of the Constitution to ensure they accommodate the state police and several other laws. So would you want to see, I mean, you've given county here, so that means there should be local government policing, then the state police, then the federal police. So if it happens with the police, should we also have it with, say, for instance, state security? Because you also know they have the state Bureau of Investigation in those states, and they have the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Should we have a similar pattern across security agencies here?
No.
Okay.
What is coming out is a characteristic of a presidential democratic security formation. The state security service, is that not what you refer to? Good. Even in most other democracies, state security service still remain as a national secret police. Our state security service is conceived to operate like FBI. The aggregate work they do is to ensure that all parts of Nigerian territory is under security surveillance. And before things happen, they take preemptive measures to help the government. And of course, when they say government of Nigeria includes the federal government, the 36 states plus FCT, and the 772 local government. So even the state security service, as a secret police, will have overall bear duty responsibility to provide security solution and give advice, preemptive advice to the local, to the state, to the federal.
Yeah, but they still have SBI in those countries. The State Bureau of Investigation.
Okay, oh good. The State Bureau of Investigation, in the respect of what you are saying, those ones are departmental entities, investigative entities of State Police Command. In each state command, you still have Bureau of Investigation. That one is just under the Commissioner of Police in that particular state. Those ones, they work like police undercover agents in the way similar to what the DSS does.
All right, so as we wind
down, the CP of the state to ensure that he has a perfect control and coordination of the security climate of the jurisdiction.
So as we wind down, can you speak to this? Because the IGP there was saying, when they first came in, the people are your bosses. We see security agencies in this country operate as though the people are, I'm trying to even find the appropriate word. They still operate as though it's a colonial mindset, where they're beholden to the political authority. Almost any security outfit in this country, there seems to be that singular narrative that runs across board. How do we address that?
You see, there's a sense of understanding in that concept I want to elucidate. Under a democracy, the people are the bosses. The people of Nigeria are the bosses of President Bola Tinubu. I hope you know that.
That's for sure. But
no, that's what I said. So even to all other security agencies, the people are the bosses. So it mustn't be particularized or narrowed down to a way that tends to address interpersonal perception. Under a democratic government, the people are the bosses.
But that is not the way the police practice.
It's not only the police. Look, I say anybody in government, because government exists at the leisure of the people. So say the Constitution and the law.
Yeah, sure. But as we speak about the police, what do you think should be done to ensure that that narrative is dominant in the mindset
Thank you very much.
The state police when they come up?
Good. In my own advice in that respect is this. All police and security personnel in this country must always be conscious that, yes, the people are the bosses. That is to say, we are working at the pleasure and the instance of the people. They are the taxpayers. When they say these are Nigerians, the people who are working, they are there's no doubt about it. However, there's a caveat. The bosses do not mean that because you are the bosses, we will begin to act in intrepid manner, in ways and manner that constitute an affront to the law.
Of course,
it must be understood.
Of course,
the people are the bosses. That must be understood.
That part is very clear.
Good. So that's what brings police into interaction with everybody is the law. Without the law, as a policeman, I have no power to stop you, say, Mr. Assembly, stop. You are the boss. But that do not mean that you must be in conflict with the law. At every point that the boss comes into conflict with the law, the police will be at liberty to enforce the law. We must understand that. And our citizens must not have a different interpretation or begin to have ideas that will create a kind of situation that we cannot manage. Let me remind ourselves, we are running a country of 230 million. Law enforcement in that environment is highly tasking. And your policemen you put on the street there, our country, we have demoralized them, we have weakened them over the years, we destroyed their working tools through June, how do you call it? That's of...
the people said they first destroyed their own over decades.
Good. So I want us to understand
that was the outcome.
So as we go along,
frustration.
We should give credence to the fact that your police, they are working on a difficult situation with the little Nigerians provided them to operate.
All right.
And we continue to understand each other and make our country better.
Mr. Abutu, Yaro, former AIG of police, thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.